This was sincerely one of those roles. And I'm saying one of those roles in plural, but I really should say it in the singular. Uh, that felt so particularly tailored to my desires and, uh, individual talents. With him, I was just so confident because I knew, based on so many movies that he's done in the past, that I've loved so much throughout my life. I knew that he would make it A, stunning, and B, meaningful and human. And he walks that line so well. Because if a filmmaker had come to me who is just the kind of filmmaker that would, focus on only, the character and the drama, I would say, like, not sure if that's necessary, that movie. And at the same time, if a filmmaker had come to me who is just sort of a surface level, spectacular visual filmmaker, I'd be like, I don't know if that's really a necessary movie to make either. But Bob really has both. And whether you're talking about Back to the Future or Flight and all his movies in between, they have both. They have that visual spectacle and human human connectivity, and so that balance made me feel like this is the kind of filmmaker who should tell this story. In the early 70s, when he was in his early 20s, before the World Trade Center was even finished being built, he saw in a magazine an article about these towers, and he drew this little pencil stroke between them and said, I'm going to hang a high wire between those two towers and I'm going to walk on it. And it was years before it could happen, but he hung on to this dream that he had, and he made it happen in real life. So many people would normally say, that's impossible. Look at all the things you'd have to do. You'd have to, first of all, learn English and get to the United States. You would have to gather up all this equipment you don't have money for. You would need to organize an entire, band of accomplices. You couldn't do it by yourself. You'd have to have a highly organized team. You'd have to break into these towers. You'd have to lug up all this equipment, tons, I don't know, tons is maybe an exaggeration, hundreds of pounds of equipment, up 110 stories, somehow manage to get the wire from one building to another. That's impossible. How are you going to do that? And then walk on it? It's impossible. Give up. But he did it. That's, to me, what the walk is about. That first moment where you're like, I've done all this, it's come to it, there's the wire, now it's time to actually take my first step. To actually do it, to be like, I'm now going to step out onto this wire 1,300 feet in the air. That moment where you're like, this is it. Love. I just that idea just is so inspiring to me. And that moment, there's no footage of that moment. There's no footage of any of the walk. And the documentary does a great job of making you feel like you're experiencing it because, the interviews are so compelling. Philippe tells the story so well, and not just Philippe and Jean-Louis and Annie and everyone else. Um, and but all they have is a few photos. That's the only recorded evidence of the walk is a handful of photos, and the photos are incredible. And when you combine those photos with people telling the story, it's a great experience. But it's different than watching it happen, and and so to me, uh, making a movie where you actually get to be with the character of Philippe and with him when he experiences that moment of now it's time, this is it. The first step is upon me. Time to go. getting to really experience that in a movie and see it and be with the character and be looking through the lens of such a masterful visual filmmaker as Robert Zemeckis. It's just two totally different experiences. One, there's the documentary, which again I love, but where you can, listen to the people who were there, hear them tell you a story. Then there's the experience of actually getting to see it happen in grand, spectacular fashion. Well, first there's Sir Ben Kingsley, who asked me to call him Ben, and he's one of the finest actors alive. Such an honor and such a privilege to work with him, and and so sweet and humble. Even though he's such a renowned actor and has such an impressive and prestigious career. He was nothing but just sweet and personable and great with me, and I loved working with him, and and it made so much sense to me that he was playing Papa Rudy, who was Philippe's mentor, because I had feelings of him mentoring me as an actor, uh, and uh, and so that parallel worked really well.